To another quality content module freshly ground by small beans, where ideas are always percolating. If you enjoy this pod, please consider joining our community over at patreon.com/smallbeans, where only $3 a month gets you access to double the content, including Patreon exclusive series like Spiel Boys and Star Trek: The Next Futurama, plus bonus episodes of your SB favorites. Much love and enjoy the thing.
You're about to hear the recorded audio diaries of Michael Swaim, Adam Ganzer, and Abe Epperson, transmitted to you from another dimension through the wonder of podcast technology. Lost in the multiverse, they have to dig into a different piece of multiversal fiction each episode, in the hopes of finally discovering a way back to their reality. How do they know this isn't their reality? Because one of them is being a real asshole. Will our heroes ever make it home, or will they inadvertently explore our obsession with multiverses, alternate timelines, and parallel worlds, and tie it all into a conversation about postmodern art, pop culture, and what it means to be a human right now? This is Escape from the Multicurse.
That's right, you heard it. Escape from the Multicurse.
You can't unhear it.
Yeah! Yes. So, welcome everybody. You have three guests here. I'm Abe Epperson, the best one of the three.
Yeah.
Can you introduce yourselves?
Of course. Welcome, everyone. I'm part of a trio of guests. I'm probably the guest. My name's Michael Swaim.
And I'm Abe Epperson, and I'm a cool guy.
Oh, no.
Wait, can I go back? Because I'm confused. What?
Yeah! I knew it.
Abe's, I feel like we've stumbled into a dimension I'm going to like a lot. Because I can't get me enough of Abe. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm putting on my sunglasses.
All right, let's get into it, shall we?
Yeah, this
One
is gonna
mic,
be good.
two Abes.
I'm thrilled.
I'm thrilled.
Especially because it's you, not me.
So what does that mean? Is he gonna
We'll
have
find
tapes
out,
like
my
me,
friend.
or is he just gonna make fart sounds? We're gonna see. Guess what? You clicked on the button, so you know what we're talking about today. We are talking about Spider-Man: No Way Home, the most recent installment of Marvel's Spider-Man series and the MCU, and it's got some multiverses in it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's basically the plot in a logline is Spidey, knowing that the events of the last movie have kind of fucked his life over, asks Doctor Strange to make everyone forget the spell causes people to get sucked into the universe from previous properties, like the Tobey Maguire era Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, and they have to solve the problems, and they do.
And ditto the villains, huge crossover event, all the villains from across all the franchise. Doc Ock meets Jamie Foxx Ock. They're all Ocks, but we'll get into it. Also, No Way Home is like I think interesting right out the gate that the subtitle focus on the hero's cost and not the triumph. No Way Home, very melancholy. Yeah,
They're at their best when they focus on the hero's cost, I would say. Sorry, I'm getting into it early.
They're at their best. He's got me fucking nailed,
Pegged, bro.
by the way.
Wait, no, you have him pegged. Wait, who's
God.
I don't know which one to shoot. Who do I shoot?
I'll just tell you this. I'm wearing a backwards cap.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's Abe. With the sunglasses, too. That's the coup de grace.
Always the sunglasses.
Always.
I don't wear sunglasses that much.
Right, which
you're
makes
not
me
the
think
real
you're the
Abe.
false Abe, because my memory is telling me Abe's sunglasses. I don't know why.
Oh, God.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Our first segment is mapping the multiverse?
The multi-map.
The multi-map. Thank
Okay,
you.
so this is where each one of us take about a minute to say what our biggest takeaway from the movie.
Mhm.
RE multiverses. Swam, you want to get us started?
Sure, I'll dive in. I feel like, well, we talked about I think Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Yeah, not Avengers. And Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness was one step towards a truly postmodern Marvel movie, which I do think is interesting and important to like discuss because there's been truly postmodern movies, obviously. And then there's been Marvel movies, the most dominant popular movies on the face of the earth for, you know, the latter half of our lifetimes or whatever. And I think it's interesting. And then at the same time, we've had plenty of shows go postmodern. Like Adult Swim brings postmodern energy from its inception, which is, you know, 25 years ago at this point, if not a little more than that. So I thought this one was remarkable in that, I mean, you all know, he just said it. It's a marketing coup that not only breaks our understanding of, oh, there's a multiverse, I have to understand characters from various movies and dimensions that Marvel owns are going to meet. Obviously, the big step forward here, I know we'll discuss if it's good or bad, but is essentially that we own everything, or we can break down, if anyone saw that claymation shit, Celebrity Deathmatch that MTV used as filler.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's not even parody, though. We bought all these things. We bought the actual rights and have the real actors. It's not a lookalike. It's not a sound-alike. This is, and I'm sure it's been done in something obscure or whatever, but I think this is like the first time we're like, we'll break 3 different IPs owned by 3 different companies and put them together. Like Smash Brothers, you know, brought that to video games, but they're still all, no, Metal Gear is and Snake's in there. Yeah, so they did that, right? Sonic and Mario, blah, blah, blah. But for popular mainstream film, I think this is it. And there's a lot of implications to that. Some interesting. I think this is a really good movie, mainly because of John Watts, and I want to talk about that. But I also think it's a step in a disturbing direction that mirrors the fact that we're starting to see corporations as people and IP as like a team. Like I support Disney, I support NBC, I support whatever, versus individual creatives. And we already had a problem where we only care about actors and we don't care about, you know, set deck directing, writing, like to a much minor degree, unless you're Steven Spielberg or whatever. So there's things about this that I don't like, even though I understand the thrill innately. That inner child of me is still there. I thought it was fucking awesome that all 3 Spider-Men are bantering. Of course, it works, but I think I think it's a cash grab power play that they did well. So I don't like the precedent, but it's an interesting use of the multiverse that I do think is distinct.
Well, there you are. So you're talking, you more are coming into this thing talking about the ramifications of kind of what this means from a branded iconography standpoint.
Yeah, the richest kid threw all his action figures in a big pile. We haven't done that before, I don't think. And it paves the way for shit where we'll have like deep fake movies where Humphrey Bogart teams up with Tom Cruise. Like I seriously think this is the beginning of that. And I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I don't like it, but it's weird.
I just want to give you something here. I just want to give it to you. I do think their eyes were bigger than their stomachs. I think that they had an idea about how could we get the most Spider-Man, and they did that, and now we'll never ever stop being Spider-Man.
No, it feels like I'm listening to 2 director-piece theaters cut up in half and stitched together. It's uncanny.
Eyes are bigger than their stomach.
Uncanny. Spider-Man also across the board all have large eyes, so very insightful.
I feel seen. So I love that you go, because there's always the off chance that I say the exact same thing.
Or if we swap, yeah.
Okay, my little rant here, or what do we? Yeah, we call it rants.
Gamer rants. Yeah, go.
We've kind of discussed on the show how, in order for an audience to sympathize with one character, there's kind of an immoral fate for all other universes. That's the deal with the multiverse. If you're into that kind of thing, so we have to root for the one true timeline, and this is something I think that Marvel and especially is victim of, because they embed it in their stories. And it's definitely something this movie in particular flirts with and tries to hit from multiple angles. All other Spider-Man properties come back essentially to haunt the new one, but the new reality is the victor in the end. So it does feel like an evolution of the multiverse story in a way, but really it's basically the same deal. Everyone returns to their timeline, in some cases deaths, and that's seen as good. Status quo
Or like
is
it
the
has
most
to be.
natural thing in these movies, right? And I think it's interesting that they really do pick at the concept of how this is kind of morally muddy in this movie. It's like the only one that they've done that with. Even Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, it's more of like occupied with the fact that there's so many of them. This one, it's more of like, but what's the right thing to do?
Or
so
Avengers 2, where they briefly care that they kill all kinds of civilians. Like that was kind of a play towards that. But yeah.
So they like tug at our heartstrings, you know, for Doc Ock and Thomas Hayden Church in some scenes, and like the Lizard Man. But then it's kind of thrown under the rug when we bamp them into non-existence at the end of the movie. And I think the movie is designed to make you not think about that. And that's an interesting, I don't know, from a story perspective, I think that that's where the multiverse gets like, oh yeah, you are kind of playing us like a fiddle, us being the audience, them being the, you know, Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I didn't actually think of the shade. You're totally right. That it's also a victory lap. It's going like, your universes exist in our universe. We ate your universe. We are the Marvel universe. That's interesting.
And this is good. And everyone's cheering.
So
and
that's that now. We absorbed you.
Yep.
It's funny. Like we're watching a movie of a corporate takeover of IP.
Yes. Yes.
That's right.
We did talk about Space Jam.
There's only one Spider-Man. I'm going to jump in now. I just wanted to say the thing I appreciate about it is transparency. Like I think like they're not even hiding it here. They're not even hiding it.
Kill you.
They're right out in the open. They're wearing their hearts on their sleeves and saying like you're gonna lap it up. You're gonna lap it up. And the movie king doesn't hate that. That's all.
You know,
movie
king boy, movie boy.
No, Dr. Movies.
That's it, Dr. Movies. Sorry, I didn't go through 4 years of movie school.
You fucking
amateur.
amateur.
King of movie doctors doesn't hate it.
Mm-hmm.
You fucking amateur. All right, well that's we're placing it on the multi map. So let's talk about how this is unique in multiverse stories, what it's contributing to the multiverse question. How did it use the multiverse uniquely? This is called Verses on Verses.
Yeah!
So yeah, Mike, you want to start us off?
Segment.
You had a great, do you want to keep talking about what you mentioned?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I wanted to say that another way they trick us, and it's bouncing off what you said and sort of melding it with my overall point.
Mm-hmm.
Like comic books themselves, and I don't think this is a bad thing. Obviously, these are action adventure movies. One aspect of the multiverse that we've touched on before, we've used it as horror or like the unknown. Like as you learn more and more about the universe, well, maybe there's other stuff we don't know that's unexplored, right? Humanity wants a frontier. That's well-trod territory. And I think in a similar, like adjacent overlapping way, it's a what if it's not scary? What if it's awesome? Like it's an unknown space where you can daydream about pure sensation. So like all adventure movies or action movies or John Wick, right? It doesn't move the plot forward that he kicks a guy using a horse, but it's awesome. And that's why you're here. Fun and games, we calls it. So I do think there's like a lot of Marvel movies, to quote you, don't want us to pay attention to that. Like be it many various things. For example, like what I discussed where and you sort of illuminated much better, we're like watching some kind of weird corporate takeover, and we could think about the business implications of the industry of film and what it means, but they don't want you thinking about that while you're watching the movie.
No.
And I will say, to their credit, one of the ways they accomplish distracting you is they have the money to hire good craftspeople. And sometimes they pick wrong, but sometimes they pick right. And Spider-Man is their Batman. He's like their money leader. I think Iron Man also. But, Spider-Man, Spider-Bat, like they were designed in the comic days to be analogous. The Green Goblin's clearly Spider-Man's Joker. The only difference is Batman's sad all the time and Spider-Man's like sardonically quippy all the time. But he's still hated, at least in the comic, right? And then what's interesting is they haven't done that as much. Like J. Jonah Jameson in the Marvel version seems like a Alex Jones lone lunatic. It's interesting and I think good that No Way Home does maneuver him to a place of, in the next one, he's going to be hated like classic Peter Parker. I think that's interesting. But really my point is John Watts kicks ass, and he was like the lead or the director at least of a sketch troupe we admired a lot when we were doing Those Aren't Muskets.
Oh, yeah.
I still think he's very good.
Yeah.
I find Marvel movies like a mid B always, mainly because, and Star Wars ditto, the cutesy humor just doesn't do it for me and they don't nail it. The difference, like this movie, has actual laugh out loud sketch comedy style jokes. Like J. Jonah Jameson, you cut to a wide and he's in his apartment in his underwear selling supplements and it's an actual Alex Jones joke and you're like, that's actually funny. That has some edge to it. And great comedic beats. Like you hear the helicopter outside and you see it on the news and he opens the drapes and it's the identical shot through the window that you see on the TV. Like John Watts and all the people who contributed to this are good, so that makes it better. Jamie Foxx crushes. Willem Dafoe crushes. So they're good at distracting you, but I think it makes us miss a lot of like all the fundamental stuff that's formulaically wrong with Marvel movies and troubling to me. Still true, even down to like the shit I always shit on Doctor Strange for, like the sheer privilege. Like this is a movie about a kid who doesn't get into the college he wanted. And like his girlfriend and his friend don't get into MIT. So he asks a wizard to change time. Like Jesus Christ, the level of privilege. And while the wizard's changing time, he nitpicks the request. Like that's why they get in trouble is he's like, well, could it be like this? Could it be like this? Dude, you suck. Like Spider-Man sucks.
You're the shittiest Spider-Man.
He's likable, but the inciting incidents itself is bananas. Like Doctor Strange even is way more irresponsible with the timeline than we've ever seen him be. Just to kick things off, just to get it going.
Yeah.
Abe's thoughts? Maybe alternating words or unison, if you could pull that off.
Asshole Abe, do you got anything?
I'm a cool guy.
I'm a cool guy. I want to pick up where you're what you're dropping because like there's something in that, like especially when you're discussing the concept of like how like the story itself, it has been changed because the Marvel Universe had to make room for all of the heroes. So Spider-Man and like, you know, the fact that he's hated isn't seen as much. And that's the kind of thing about this story, I think, is that now we have a reboot. Like forgetting Spider-Man's identity is smart from that perspective in that we can do all the things again. But I don't know, we're in a kind of post mystery box reboot kind of like I'm still looking at things like The Leftovers and Heroes. Granted, those were series and those were
just bad timing.
TV shows that happened like a decade ago, but they definitely informed even what we're seeing now. There's a new Apple TV show called Silo. There's Severance. There's a lot of things where it's just like the whole point is to kind of push the seasonal arcs and push like the serialized aspect of it so that we can get this sweet spot for as long as we can before we change the formula. You just don't want to change the formula because then people might be like, I don't like it anymore. And so there's always some form of reset button is one of the things that the writers use as a tool to make you go back to the beginning and just rehash all the things that you liked. And it's a goal basically to be able to redo those scenes without getting to know you segments of MJ and Spidey's best friend. But now it has this added emotional resonance of, oh, woe is me, Spider-Man, I'm a martyr, they don't remember me. So it becomes especially poignant to the people watching. But it still feels like a trick to me.
Even though it's still the classic hero's journey, like it's part of the classic graph that the hero pays a cost. That's just classic storytelling.
Of people forgetting each other and living in a new universe with new rules or whatever, it does feel cheap and easy from a writing perspective, but am I the only one who feels this way? Because like it might just be because it's prevalent now.
I just think I just want to give this to him, give it to him here. I just think it's capitalism. Like it's like they're asking us to like root for the company, man. And like that's really all that we're taking. Like the reboot just lets us be Spider-Man forever, really, and that's like, and being Spider-Man forever is like pretty awesome. Yeah.
Although not all the time, which I like, or like I wanted to see. Andrew Garfield talks about how in his own universe, after Gwen Stacy died, he did like a Batman arc where he let his rage go and became ultra violent, and he regrets it. I want to see that.
I want to see the
bro.
badass
Evil
Spider-Man.
And Andrew Garfield being mean. That seems weird to me.
See, so
Yeah, because he wears his heart on his sleeve so much, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like this is extreme. Like, I'm not sure if I'm reading the situation right, because either this is extremely flattering, or I can't tell. Like,
Same.
or I don't know
if he hates you or it's
or is Adam doing a bad job?
right.
Because these are great points. You know, like
Right,
these are
they
points
stand
that I feel
up.
like Adam would make. You know,
No.
so like I don't know what
Well,
to do.
I
with it.
mean,
You're saying I
I
can't make a good point because I'm Abe?
I feel like Abe is saying good things and that he's happy, and we should take him at his word, because honestly, the dude wears his heart on his sleeve, and that's what I really appreciate about him.
Transparency.
I do not say that much.
The transparency. That's right. The Spielbergian.
I don't
you
say
know?
that much.
You know who would have been amazing directing this? McTiernan.
Asshole Abe, do you think it's almost like inviting us to Sonder a bit?
Both of you, I love you.
I love you.
to death.
I love you.
I love you
You
too.
guys are a bunch of great
Great
guys.
guys.
I want to point out another multiverse aspect that I did find fascinating, which is that it's, and again, this is not unique to them, but I think it's the first time in such a big budget thing. Like Jamie Foxx references, hilarious joke, by the way, I thought you'd be black because you hang out in Brooklyn and you help people, like
I love
poor
that.
people.
Right, yeah.
And maybe there's a black Spider-Man in some universe. Obviously a reference to a different IP across Miles Morales. Or the comic itself, I guess you could argue, because Miles exists. Miles Morales is Spider-Man, hashtag. But the main thing I wanted to talk about is how they literally discuss, and they didn't even need to discuss it, you know, that like Gwen Stacy is analogous to his MJ, like similar but different. Uncle Ben died. Oh, in my universe, it was Aunt May. And
It's just funny to think of all the Spider-Men like comparing how spider they are.
yeah, that's right. And how manly. It's just really interesting to me that, so like the new Star Wars trilogy did it, but didn't talk about it, which is the new Star Wars trilogy rhymes with the original Star Wars trilogy really hard, right? The plot points rhyme. This is the first movie I've seen where they go out of their way to say like, we've really only done the same thing over and over. Yeah, we really have. Yeah, we just switched the pieces around. It's true. It's enjoyable though. Let's go fight Sandman.
Yeah, and and I think that's like in its heart, I think they're being honest there. I think something in me goes like, I'm a little broken, and something in me goes like, this is trickery, and I don't feel like I'm
or cheap.
Like I'm being written to as opposed to written like brought into a story. But man, oh man, they the fact that they own it really, it's the fact that the comics are like this. You know, they're owning up. They're being who they are. Marvel is doing the thing they've always done.
Self-referential and
Wearing their heart on the sleeve. Yep.
Yeah, it's like the Marvel Ouroboros is interesting because bringing in the old Spider-Mans, only Marvel or DC could really pull it off at this point, because everything is returning, like you said, to a baseline kind of like status quo. All these stories kind of definitely hold the balance of the world or the universes in balance, so there's like a lot of stakes, but at the end, we return to a spot where Spider-Man is Spider-Man, and that's unchanged, so that we can have more happy adventures. So this film does have more change than most of the other Marvel films, in that at the end, everyone does forget Spider-Man's identity, but ultimately... I think that's not a really big change.
No, it's not, because it's also
movies.
just going, it is a reboot. Like he gets to go back to the beginning, work up his courage, and tell Zendaya he's Spider-Man a second time. It's not a problem. He can tell the people that he wants to know again. It's just a minor inconvenience. And I know at the end of this movie, they imply that he decides, knowing me is toxic, I want to free them of that. But they're going to find out and be friends again later. It's fine. It's going to be fine.
Just like the first time, it's going to be an accident, and then it's going to be like, but I love you, and then we're going to root for that.
So it's a reboot within the thing that rhymes. And speaking of just compounding references to the outside world, do you think when there's a moment where Doc Ock asks Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, how are you? And even though this is not anything he's been talking about up to that point, he says, I'm trying to do better. Do you think that's a reference to the fact that Tobey Maguire's career famously sort of went to the back burner for many years because he's notoriously hard to work with? Like, he was a raging prick at the time. And he has come out saying he's trying to do better. And I just wonder, and then like at the end, they show an Emperor Palpatine figurine as if to just literally say, we also own that. Isn't that cute that we also own that?
Oh,
I'm
Jesus.
like, that's the kind of joke that really grinds my gears.
Something I've been thinking about vis-a-vis contemplating
I never
is that
I never say it either. I don't.
is that I think Marvel just kind of wants to be everything. Marvel kind of wants like just
but only in one tone.
Everything to be only Marvel, and will never stop telling the story until all things are in the Marvel story. Which, you know, you have to like kind of step back and go, oh, wow,
Yeah.
you know. But if I had to guess what they're thinking up in their thinkers, I'd say that's what it is.
So you got to ask. So then, like, how would Marvel absorb a storyline like, let's say, Lars von Trier's Antichrist, also featuring Willem Dafoe? How would they absorb and incorporate that kind of story
They could do
into their universe?
They could do anything. There is no, everything's possible. Everything is permitted.
Anything. Okay.
Anything
That makes
is
a lot
the
of sense,
story.
actually.
You're making smart, sexy points.
Wait, are your eyes closed? I can see behind the sunglasses. Are you like resting your eyes?
Yeah, he's taking.
I feel like he's checked out.
It tuckers me out a little. Making all these points. It tuckers me out. I'm just a little tired.
I love that they brought back his teeth. You notice his teeth?
Wait, who?
Defoe.
Oh, wait.
When
Does he
he's
have
a goblin?
Oh, I thought Willem Dafoe, because he does have an angular, creepy skull face. I thought he had fangs like that. Those are fake when he does the Joker smile.
I honestly don't know which one is real, but
He might just be a goblin.
He might be a goblin.
Just a huge-dicked, fang-toothed
But you
acting man.
Norman Osborn versus the Green Goblin, they have different teeth, and that was true in the Spider-Man original. I
didn't notice the teeth. I just noticed the incredible facial transformation.
That was always a thing.
I'm looking
That's
at
always
his
been a thing
cheeks and
since
his
Spider-Man
eyes.
1.
It's occurring to me that it's totally possible we get a Marvel movie where it's just all the directors of Spider-Man directed a movie, and it's about that.
It's about teeth?
It's
about Green Goblin's teeth?
Only teeth. No,
all teeth, all day.
It's only the movie becomes about all the people who've made the movie. They actually laid the groundwork for that because they had all those scenes with Jon Favreau.
Oh, you're saying like Jon Favreau and John Watts, let's say, collaborate on a Spider-Man, Iron Man, but even more like 5 people do that. I could see that happening.
They're so close to making a movie only about the movie. They're so close to that.
Because they do make it in modular parts, am I right? Like even John Watts said, you write all the scenes, the character scenes, and direct the character scenes, and you have influence on the big action set pieces. But by and large, the big action set pieces, Marvel comes in and is like, these work this way, is my understanding. So they do break the shoot down, which is interesting. So they could. I mean, that's what I mean. It's the middle step towards doing a bunch of shit I really don't like. But I like this movie.
Yeah, it's gonna be terrible. It's gonna be terrible.
Yeah, it's gonna be bad.
It's gonna be terrible. I think the Marvel Brain Trust would stop that kind of thing. So I would say, Abe, that's a bad point. God, this is more therapeutic than I thought it would be.
Respectfully, you're just knocking yourself down a peg.
Respectfully disagree.
I think you're supposed to use positive self-talk more.
Oh, I think I'm always
inside.
I'm
Abe is a sad boy.
Oh, maybe you're a narcissist and you got to go the other way. Yeah.
Yeah. Who the fuck are we talking about?
Oh, and then I
nobody asked you to be here.
The ramp. I know it's just to link stuff together, and some of the stuff did work, but the cracked writer in me can't not point out that it like destroys my brain. That the post-credits sequence is, we're also going to absorb the Venom IP, and that's fine because you're absorbing Sony already through Andrew Garfield. But my problem is, everyone gets magically reversed in time to the point
Yes.
before the portal even happened and the spell is undone. Yet Venom accidentally gets some of his goo suit snipped off in the portal and it stays behind. There's no way that makes sense. On its face, I can't connect those concepts. Is it a spell or is it a portal that closes and snips you off? Because there were millions of people halfway through portals when it closed. There would be like bodies of people everywhere. Yeah, anyway, it's just bothered
There is
the
an
shit out of me.
inconsistency, and that brings
There's
up
a lot of them.
It brings up another thing that I think is has like kind of like what we're talking about, implications of the future that they could utilize. That might be if we show that we're fine. We're gonna go to these movies anyway, so they're gonna just do what they want to do. But
I don't like this one. Spider-Man ones are the exception for me because he's my boy.
Right.
Yeah.
But with the Venom reveal in the post-credit scene, it means that he is in technically a different universe than our MCU versions, right?
Yeah.
Because it's pulling people from other universes. So there's obviously like Avengers in his reality. I think they're referenced in the Venom movies, but they're quote different than our Avengers, right? And remember what we said about what happens when our Avengers, meaning this timeline in this movie, is against other Avengers. Feels a lot like they can retcon literally any movie after the fact and say that one was actually a different universe, number 681 or whatever, and we don't really care about them. This is
the inherent problem with mirror universes, and I know it's fun, but it always inherently bothers me because of the basic supposition. Even though in mirror universe episodes we will see things like, oh, in that universe, that person's married to a different person instead. Okay, then that would imply they're going to give birth to a different child than would have otherwise existed. So then how did the entire genetic lineage of humanity be identical to the point that Peter Parker still exists as he is this generation, yet he can date someone else and give birth to a kid that's not like the other universe? Again, I'm done nitpicking, but that bothers me across the board.
The thing
just childish aping.
The thing I've been noodling in my noodler about is that I think like what they really are trying to do is to eliminate the differences between the universes, like just sort of make everything permissible insofar as they want to compare and contrast for fun, and then everything is possible in a tool belt way, so that you no longer have to remember the stories they've set out. It's almost like they set out all these stories and like now you got to know all this stuff to appreciate what's going on, and they're like waging war on our ability to retain those facts and ultimately helping us out by obliterating them with this convergence.
In fact, right, maybe they've reached a point of information overload where they're consciously trying to train us to just go with the flow and enjoy the ride more than try to track the lore. Because again, how do you stack super science and mutant powers and magic and make it like consistent in the way Michael Swaim's brain wants? You're not going to. It's not a human. Like there's no way to do that, including time travel and all this shit. It's just not possible.
Even technology, like Doc Ock at one point in this movie must be losing his mind when he sees that there's nanotechnology.
Right.
Like he's in the fucking Stone Age with I have big steel arms.
Right. I have robot arms
that I talk to.
In my time, these were the future, and they can control my brain. Also, to add to Abe's point, to Abe Prime's point, this movie is the first Marvel movie I encountered, but I skipped some of them, where over the production titles there was an audio montage that was essentially a previously on Marvel, so that you can catch up. Like, we know that many of you are skipping some of them at this point because there's too many. We will recap the plot right at the top, like a straight up recap like TV shows do. I thought that was interesting. It's interesting to watch them try to keep the ship running and know that there's information overload and that Marvel fatigue is a term that's out there. And they must be having meetings where they're like, how do we address this? How do we refresh, you know?
Yeah. Something I've been thinking about that I'm about to put out forth for you now is that they also are eliminating different media formats. Like they're starting to ask you to imbibe story across every way there is, which is to say that they don't. Like they expect that you won't have seen everything in every place that they do it, and that you think of the TV or the video game or the mobile phone app or whatever that you're using as being just sort of an episode of Marvel, and all entertainment is an episode of Marvel. Like I think that's the plan. The plan is to eliminate all sense of narrative cohesion across the larger story and make
Premiere TV became serialized, and now movies and TV are starting to converge, right?
The same serializing. Like they're part of the same timeline. And therefore you can't retain it. Nobody can, right? There's just not enough.
I think you're absolutely right, me.
Of course I am. I'm a cool guy.
My favorite artifact of that, I realize now I do say stupid words that are... Man, this is really helpful. An artifact of that is in this movie. The Daredevil shows up, and he hasn't been in a movie. And he is in the TV show.
He catches the shit out of a brick.
Great joke. Again, great line. How did you do that? I'm a really good lawyer.
It's one of those things that Marvel, like you said, can get away with because it's legit hilarious. But we as an audience, I just like the idea as someone who's just like, we don't need another explanation of someone in the room going, oh, okay, so yeah, by the way, I'm definitely blind, but like I have a superpower. So everyone in that room totally thinks that this lawyer is just lying about being blind.
Right.
Like that's what's happening.
Oh, yeah, like Maggie Lizer from Arrested Development.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
true. Because afterwards, because they didn't say, I need a better explanation than that. So they let it gloss over. So the scene after that must be, so he caught that brick. He must not be blind. I don't know. Maybe it helps in the courtroom. All right. He's a weird dude, but whatever.
That's really weird.
But he's wearing the coolest sunglasses.
So good. The rubies, dude.
Like he can't see them. How does he know they're so cool?
Don't know.
That's it. Yeah, it's one of those things because I imagine audience members who are like, oh, I don't watch the TV Marvel stuff because I think it's terrible or whatever, who have no clue about Murdoch and, Daredevil, just watching that scene and going like, what the fuck is this? I love it. Yeah. I love it so much. I also love that Wong shows up in this movie. Serves the same purpose.
He's a sorcerer
he always
supreme,
does. Bro. He comes in and he says, you can't do that. That spell travels the borders of the dark realities. And then he's
now
like,
I don't want to be here.
And then he's like, you can do it.
By the way, it is literally a trope in improv comedy because there are formulae that help improv comedians build the thing. I know, just in case someone doesn't, but like improv is not just let's make it up and try to be funny, right? And one of them is called the that's crazy, but okay. That's crazy, but okay.
Yeah.
So everyone knows yes and, but they say a really important thing to not know someone and to get the game going is when someone throws out a premise, we're all going to fuck this pie or whatever, right? Because we're at an American Pie convention. You have to go, because stuff is only funny if someone's opposing it or calling it out. So you go, fuck a pie, that's crazy. But okay, but you can't block the scene. And I love that Wong is literally that for Marvel movies. He always comes in and goes, wait, you're doing what? Wow. What a cool movie with epic stakes, but okay.
Said by the person who's fucked a pumpkin and a dishwasher in front of a million people.
He's got cred. He's got cred to say it.
Swaim's got cred.
That was the character, Michael Swaim. That's different. It's different.
I'm not that guy.
I got it. One of my favorite postmodern jokes in Dishwasher, which I now watch and I'm like, it's too long. We should have cut it down. But
we
still has funny moments. One of my favorites is the joke where Cody goes, you fuck the dishwasher. Michael Swaim, the actor and writer Michael Swaim, outside the sketch.
Yeah, outside the sketch.
I remember when I directed Cody and talking about that, I was like, you're going to need to get in front of this lens I built a little bit faster for me to see it.
Yeah, did you use your famous cloud tank on that one and some... fancy rigs.
I might have used
You're
them.
now making fun of
Doorway
my
dolly.
absolutely impressive pedigree.
Just the fact
of
that you're
inventions.
versed with grip and equipment. Yeah.
I can do it all. I can do it
Yeah,
all.
you're basically
I'm
you're
basically
trying to make fun of the fact that I'm a literal inventor of camera lenses.
making fun. I'm just saying you things that are true about me, Abe.
Right, that's right. He's just expressing his identity.
That's true. I am great.
I'm the great one.
Yeah. You mentioned before, and something I want to touch on a little bit more, Swaim,
Yeah.
which is
And Abe.
nitpickiness. There's the spell itself, the setup for this
Right, yeah.
is that you need, in order to cast the spell for the forget-me-not thing, you need to involve all universes. Like, that's a part of the spell.
Why wasn't it just right?
Yeah,
why did it
is
only
magic?
apply to this
Why is
universe?
magic
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
only thing that's everywhere?
Right. Well, I'm sure there's an answer. Someone has that answer, but that
Yeah.
must mean that every Doctor Strange, and not
was
just
doing
Doctor
that
Strange,
at the same time?
horned up wizard,
Right.
man made of paper who also knows spells. In every
Right.
universe has done some kind of
six-armed
multiverse
zombie
magic.
Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
All
Right.
the Doctor Stranges we got to know in that sequence of
There's-
Multiverse of Madness.
I
They're
just-
all doing that spell together, apparently.
I just want to
There's-
see the. I
yeah.
just want to see the other Stranges. They get up and they're eating their cereal
Oh
in the
yeah,
morning,
we
and they're
gotta do
like,
the thing.
fucking other Strange again. And they're just
Yeah.
having this shitty day.
I'll kill you, Strange.
Strange.
And I think that's what one thing I like to do in the show is every now and then you kind of have to compare kind of what the multiverses that we've covered. And it's one that I actually really do enjoy about Everything Everywhere All at Once more.
Makes
Where
more
it's
sense. Yeah,
when they
is.
go to the rocks and they go, there's no way life exists in any reality or in a multitude of realities.
Right.
Because everything got blasted, our timeline got blasted into oblivion long ago. They deal with it with absurdity. They're it is surreal. There's
But
still
even
googly
with
eyes.
surreal absurdity, there's more consistency to the internal rules that they've established. I know it doesn't make it make sense, but the fact that googly eyes were established as the symbol of I forget the husband's name. I'm sorry, I need to watch it again. I forget her name too. Michelle Yeoh, but I forget the
Evelyn.
character Evelyn. But you know what I mean? Googly eyes were established as a thing that means something, and it's a payoff of that. So it's still systemically consistent. Whereas I feel like it's a fun game to point out plot holes, and Marvel gives you plenty of fodder there. They've gotten to a point where there's so much information. How could you not have plot holes? People, of course, famously talk about Eternals ends with a giant statue buried in the earth that extends into space, so we never mention it again, stuff like that.
Not a single one.
I want to say two more negative things, and then I kind of want to say a few positive things before we're out of the segment, if that's all right.
Yeah. It is.
Another problem I have that I think is part of information overload that this movie still has is it seems like they begrudgingly are okay, let's make it a montage. We have to get from this point to this point, and the movie's already long. Okay, let's make it a montage. There's 6 music montages where they just do stuff to advance. I hate that. It's getting to be too many montages, guys. And then I think it's very funny, ending on the privilege point again, that Spider-Man, that Peter Parker doesn't get into MIT and a few other colleges because it's been revealed that he's Spider-Man, and the controversy keeps him from getting in. And he says, it's so not fair. Dude, you're accused of a series of violent vigilante crimes and you're not arrested. You're free. That you should be this is good. I did good. Everyone knows I'm Spider-Man and they're not coming at me. That's enough. You should be grateful.
I just like the idea that he, after everybody forgets that he's Spider-Man, he still gets rejected from MIT because
he's just dumb.
A cover.
That wasn't the reason.
That wasn't the reason.
He's just not smart enough, I guess.
Yeah.
He didn't do well on the verbal.
We don't ever see that lady come back and actually get a conversation about getting him in. God, we never see it.
Yeah, I love that it's just a 180 turn. You're a hero. Oh my God.
Like, it never occurred to her before that Spider-Man, despite all the controversy, has saved a bunch of people's lives. Like, she doesn't know that.
It's on the news.
Yeah.
Like, what?
It's also funny to see how an actor who's doing something great in a different show, like she's doing such great work in Barry. That's what she was doing around that time.
For real.
Gets made into this, like, basically a yes man in a Marvel movie. Like that's another.
You see that all the time.
Yeah, it's another like shrinking and contraction of reality to make everything fit into Marvel. It's like we got to eliminate all her interesting quirks and personality so that she's in a Marvel movie.
I love when Game of Thrones was on. That happened everywhere. Everyone was like, "Let's get one of the Game of Thrones people in it." You know?
Yeah.
Let's just bring him because there's like 95 people.
Or how everybody in Mad Men just abused women for 10 years on television after that.
Right? Yeah, they were just like, you feel like an abusing women type.
Yeah.
It's like you saw Mad Men. Yeah, I get it. Hey, man, a job's a job, I guess. I think that this all comes down to, and this is kind of like in the positive spin.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad thing to kind of like segue to your positivity you want to end with. There's a reason why I think they're doing all this, and it's a good reason. It's that origin stories are fun, and that's why they're prevalent. We get a new origin story for Spider-Man, not like Spider-Man, but Peter Parker, not the spider biting, but rather like, what about the thing that they haven't really covered much, which is Peter's personal life, is probably going to be more in view in the next installment of Spider-Mans. And I think that's great. Beginnings are fun. They're focusing probably on something they didn't focus on as much. So it will be a little bit new information. And I think the reason for that is because you go from nothing to something great. It's the highest dynamic that you can have in a story, most interesting and dramatic leap. Once Spider-Man is Spider-Man and you're like on Spider-Man 2 or whatever, you can only challenge him. You can tear him down and then build him back up.
It becomes what movie has the better villain.
Right.
As we all know.
But it's really hard to replace Everyman to Extraordinary Man as a concept. And we can't get enough of those stories. They're literally all the hero stories. And I think that's good.
I totally agree with Abe. It's why every hero movie ultimately comes back to an origin story as often as it can. Like that's kind of the only part of it we care about. After that, it's just a bunch of bang 'em ups,
And Sound and Fury, yeah.
Yeah, and this particular Spider-Man franchise actually could still do an interesting rebooted origin, and it would feel fresh. So the producers are wily, they're smart, they're thinking ahead here, and I like the transparency of that.
You actually love this movie, right? Okay, I'm gonna do a quick thing. So if you listen to Star Trek The Next Futurama, sometimes we do joke roulette. I think this movie among Marvel movies stands as the one with the most jokes that are actually funny, at least to me. So I'm gonna do them in a row real quick. But first, the first two things are just shots that I really admired. In the opening sequence, which is awesomely shot, Requiem for a Dream shot, like where the camera's attached to your waist pointed up at you to show Spider-Man swinging around. Great way to show Spider-Man swinging around and what it would feel like. They turn the wind up high so you hear it like rushing by his ears. It's really cool. And then they also do this whole opening with Happy in the apartment and the chaos of the media circus that reminded me of nothing so much as like, this made me feel like Uncut Gems, but the comedy version. And even though Uncut Gems was too much of it because it was wall-to-wall only that, I do think it takes a lot of skill to block one of those scenes where it's like everyone's talking, it's stressful, we're even layering multiple conversations and shit like that. Okay, now just jokes. Talking about being able to buy anything you want, an improv scene where you just stand up Martin Starr, JB Smoove, and Hannibal Buress and have them improv. Fucking genius. Like, of course that's going to be gold. The whole scene is gold. Hannibal Buress thinks he is a murderer and won't drop it. Doc Ock seeing Doctor Strange. What is this? Is this a birthday party? What's your name? Otto Octavius? No, seriously, what's your name? That's good. Spider-Man says it's actually my fault that you're here. And Jamie Foxx says, this universe or the woods? Because they're in the woods. So you're going to stand here and just pretend I'm not butt-ass naked? Sandman. Yes, I am. Lizard. I could give you a real makeover. Electro. Yeah, let me guess. Into a lizard. Spider-Man. Hey, did those guys
he's just
come?
all lizards. Sorry, he's just all lizards.
All the way down. Hey, did those guys come through yet? There should be an electric guy and a sand guy. Well, what about this one? Is this one like a tree monster or a scientist that turned into a tree? It's just a tree, man. Electro. Exactly. I fell into a vat of electric eels. Sandman. I fell into a super collider. Damn. Gotta be careful where you fall.
Yeah, it's true.
He's not wrong. Yeah. He's not wrong.
Happy on the phone driving home. Hey, Peter, I just checked in with my Ring camera. Looks like you brought a cyborg to my house, about a man with cyborg legs. One guy's made of mud. Call me back.
One guy's made of mud.
Hey, can you not throw the bread again? You are a deeply mistrusting person, but I respect it. This is Andrew Garfield trying to prove he's Spider-Man. Crawl around on the ceiling. He jumps up and his fingertips stick to the ceiling. No. Crawl around. Crawl around. This is enough. How am I hanging from the ceiling? I know you guys aren't used to working as a team, but I am. I don't want to brag, but I was in the Avengers. Avengers, that's great. Is that a band? Are you in a band? And then last thing, not a joke, but I got it this time, and I'm like, nice touch, whoever decided this. If you're gonna go for the thing where like everyone forgot him and that's sad and you're taking it seriously, what is it to be a superhero? It ends on the shot of the classic coffee shop cup that does exist in a lot of NYC coffee shops that says, "We're happy to serve you." That's actually the final image of the movie. That's pretty cool. That's a good, good subtle directing thing for sure.
Right.
I'm done.
Right.
I just want to take off my hat to Andrew Garfield in this movie. His movies weren't my favorite Spider-Mans, but he had that incredible moment where he rescued MJ and it was painful for him, and it really it punched me in the guts. It was really good.
And his Spider-Mans weren't bad because of him. They were not well written. He's good, and he's super charming. He does seem like a perfect fit for Spider-Man to me.
Yeah. I also, the Aunt May death was Tom Holland,
pretty
Tom
top
Holland
notch.
and
Aunt
May.
Yeah,
they're both fucking killing it in that. Like, that's what Marvel has always been kind of good at, is that they pick people of high caliber. So yeah, it's all jokes and make 'em ups, but then
sometimes they still process it to a point of not being good, but sometimes they let the person work and
you're
they
like,
do their magic.
Fuck yeah, that's good. And it works on you or it doesn't. This one definitely worked on me. Because
like
John
Favreau is a legit good director, so Iron Man 1 was good. Like,
you seen that Chef? You all seen
Love
that Chef?
Yeah.
Love Chef.
Love Swingers.
Love Chef. I don't know what that is. No, just kidding.
Okay.
Solid movie on the Marvel canon,
Very hard to cram that many characters in, that many villains.
Does
a pretty good job. Yeah.
They're definitely lying and stealing to tell the truth.
Very ambitious.
All right. I feel seen. I love it. I love the bit. Well, is there anything anyone else should say? Oh, one joke that I liked at the beginning of the movie is when they finally find out Peter Parker's identity, and there's a guy in the crowd who says, "I want to have your spider babies," and he definitely knows he's at a high school right now.
Yeah, that he's a high school student. I also like the reporter who turns to Zendaya based only on the worried look on her face and goes, "Who are you? Do you know Spider-Man?" What a leap. What a incredible act of observation. You must be Sherlock fucking Holmes, dude.
Doesn't everybody know Spider-Man?
Spider-Man? Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, I love, on the same note, Sandman at one point or someone goes, yeah, Doc Ock died and Green Goblin died. You didn't know? It was all over the news. Oh yeah, no shit. That made the news that there was a Green Goblin man that got murdered on a bridge. It was on the news.
You think that it seemed like he was the only actor that it seemed that they were really determined not to show his
or
real
unable
face
to get
for a while.
Yeah, maybe he was like, I'll do it, but I don't want a lot of shoot days. It just doesn't work for me, or it seemed like it. Yeah,
there's something going on there.
Something going on with him. Whatever.
Yeah. How do you guys feel about closing up this wormhole?
Let's do it. Well, it's a decision point. So we'll either close up the wormhole, stay in this dimension, by which we don't mean I gotta be clear about this. We don't mean the dimension we're in with two Aves. We mean the film dimension we're discussing. Because we all know we'd want to live in the double Abe dimension. That's not a question.
Two Aves forever, dude.
So, personally, I would stay in this. I'd leave Earth for this dimension. I think it's fucking awesome.
This is a better one?
I would, although only at the point in the movie before they fix the spell. Like, I'm saying I want the cavalcade dimension with everything. One of the very first comic books I made when I was a 9, 10, 11-year-old, and I thought I wanted to be a comic artist before I came to filmmaking, which is interesting because it's basically storyboarding. I drew a thing called Juxtapose about a planet of infinite size where because it's of infinite size, literally everything is happening, right? Or everything exists. And I like music like that, like Ween and 10cc and Zappa. That's just a random cavalcade of nonsense. So this dimension suits me.
I want to leave this world.
Bye.
Because I know we have there's shitty aspects of our world, like billionaires and stuff, but guess what we don't have? A fucking weird ass wizard who will, at the whim of a high school student, destroy the world possibly. So I don't need to live in this kind of concept in this world. So that's me. That's the only Abe opinion that you need to hear.
I'm gonna go ahead and agree with Abe. I think Doctor Strange ruins everything in all the universes. Because I don't want a wizard ruining my life in another fucking universe. No thanks.
God, it's like I have a little pet. He just does what I want. It's great.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's 2 for closing it, 1 for living in it.
Let's leave Mike behind and just be Abe's forever.
Yeah. Let's go fuck behind that portal.
I guess I chose my fate.
Ask.
All right, I'm staying here. You guys are going there. I have no idea how this will affect next episode, but we shall see.
It won't. And looking forward to it. See you next month, everybody.